Selina Hayes exhaled softly as she stirred the pot of homemade cocoa on the stovetop. Outside, snow swirled in gentle drifts across the driveway, coating the world in a pristine sheet of white. From the living room, she could hear giggles. Zuri and Eli, her beloved children, were playing with their new board game. It was an unassuming mid-December afternoon, and the Hayes household seemed, at first glance, cozy and warm. Yet, something felt off. She glanced toward the den where her husband, Marcus Grant, had retreated after dinner. They had been married for over a decade, and while their union had once been tender, it now felt like stepping on broken glass. She rarely saw him show genuine laughter or even simple warmth. It was as if the man who had once swept her off her feet had retreated into a fortress of silence and dissatisfaction. Selina carefully poured the cocoa into mugs, garnished each with a swirl of whipped cream and a dusting of cinnamon. Zuri, an inquisitive 10-year-old who always wore a bright ribbon in her curls, rushed in first. "Mom, are we still building the snowman later?" she asked, eyes shining with excitement. "Absolutely," Selina said, forcing a smile. "But drink up first. You'll need the energy to brave that cold." Moments later, Eli, who was 12 and almost as tall as Selina, plodded into the kitchen. He gave a wry grin, an expression that reminded Selina of his father. "Thanks, Mom," he said, taking a mug. "It smells great." Amid the children's chatter, Marcus finally emerged. He took the cup Selina offered with a curt nod but said nothing. He didn't even look in her direction. A pang of sadness tugged at Selina's heart as she observed him sip the cocoa without comment. Throughout the evening, he remained emotionally distant. The kids barely noticed because they were too busy being kids, laughing, teasing each other, and planning a spontaneous snowball fight. Selina, however, felt the chill of his detachment as plainly as the cold air outside. In the living room, Christmas lights twinkled on the tree. Though Selina had decorated the house in a style that exuded warmth, soft throw blankets, pine-scented candles, winterberry wreaths, the atmosphere between her and Marcus felt brittle. A quiet heaviness lurked beneath the festive glow, a silent tension that clung to every breath. She kept busy, placing a gentle hand on each child's shoulder in passing, ensuring they felt their mother's love. But Marcus's distance left an unspoken void. That night, when the children finally went to bed, Selina lingered by the bedroom door as Marcus quietly typed away on his laptop. A single lamp illuminated him, casting an elongated shadow across the wall. She wanted to talk, to bridge whatever chasm had formed between them. But the moment she opened her mouth, his phone buzzed. He answered it tersely, turned away from her, and continued working. She closed the door without a word. Downstairs, the untouched cocoa sat in a mug on the kitchen counter, its warmth slowly fading, much like the warmth between them. The spark was gone. Selina felt the pain of that reality more each passing day. She remembered the early days of their relationship. Marcus, tall and confident, would surprise her with handwritten love letters, bunches of wildflowers he picked himself, and extravagant date nights filled with laughter and plans for the future. It was as if they'd met in a fairy tale, destined to live happily ever after. Yet, somewhere along the line, life had intervened. Marcus's demanding job in corporate finance consumed him. Late nights, weekend meetings, an ever-growing obsession with status. Selina, for her part, had tried to be the supportive wife, trusting in the future he claimed to be building. She believed if she stayed patient, they would eventually return to each other. But that hadn't happened. Instead, the missing spark now felt like an entire missing chapter in their marriage. Selina sometimes wondered if she was to blame. She often thought about how she devoted nearly all her time to raising Zuri and Eli, rarely focusing on her own dreams and goals. Could it be that Marcus simply no longer found her interesting? Sitting at the dining room table, Selina scrolled through old photos on her phone, images from when Marcus would send her adorable selfies from work or text her sappy lines about how much he missed her. A tear slipped down her cheek as she realized the last time he had done anything of the sort was well over a year ago. She got up, walked over to the bookshelf where she kept her wedding album, and flipped through the pages. There they were, radiant and euphoric, cutting into a towering vanilla cake with swirls of buttercream. Her gown shimmered in the overhead lights, and Marcus's proud smile lit up the space around him. Her heart twisted painfully at the contrast. How was it possible that they had drifted so far apart while living under the same roof? When she closed the album, she forced herself to think about the children. They deserved a happy home. She resolved to try to reconnect. The memories of their early romance flooded her mind. How he used to dance with her in the middle of the living room for no reason at all. How he'd leave a note in her coat pocket telling her she was the most amazing woman he knew. She yearned to see that man again. Later that evening, she mustered her courage. While Marcus sat in the den, texting on his phone, she approached. "Hey," she said softly. "I miss you. Could we, maybe do something together this weekend? Dinner or a movie?" He gave her a blank look, as if he were a million miles away. "I've got meetings," he replied, rubbing his temple. "And I have some calls to make." Selina tried again. "What about next weekend? Or even just tonight, after the kids go to bed?" Marcus shrugged. "Let's see. Work is pretty insane right now." Then he returned his gaze to his phone, dismissing her presence. Selina lingered for a moment, trying to come up with the right words, but her courage was drained. She left the room quietly, wondering if there was anything left to salvage. In the hallway mirror, she caught sight of her own reflection, eyes dulled by disappointment. The missing spark wasn't just with Marcus. It threatened to extinguish the brightness in her own spirit. The next morning, Selina glanced out the window at a fresh blanket of snow. The sight was breathtaking. The entire suburban neighborhood looked like a Christmas postcard. She had planned a small holiday getaway for the family, believing a change of scenery might inject new life into their routine. She imagined cozy evenings in a cabin, sipping cider by a roaring fire, with the kids building snow forts and the adults reconnecting under starlit skies. She brought it up over breakfast, where Zuri and Eli were happily munching on toast and scrambled eggs. "How would you two feel about a weekend up in Pinewood Cabin? There's a frozen lake for ice skating, a big fireplace, lots of activities." The kids looked thrilled. Zuri bounced in her seat, nearly spilling her juice. "Yes, that sounds amazing." Eli nodded. "I want to try skiing again." Encouraged, Selina looked at Marcus. "Honey, it's a short drive. We can leave Friday after work." Marcus barely glanced up from his phone. "I don't know. Could you check your schedule?" Selina asked gently. "I've already booked the place because it's our favorite spot, and I thought it might be fun for the kids." He sighed, setting his phone down. "You booked it without consulting me?" Selina's face reddened. "I'm sorry. I assumed it would be okay, especially since you mentioned we needed family time a few weeks ago. You loved Pinewood Cabin last year." "Did I?" he murmured, picking his phone up again. "Anyway, I have an important meeting with potential investors on Friday. If I can't make it, you and the kids can go without me." Selina's heart sank. She pressed her lips together, unwilling to let her disappointment show in front of Zuri and Eli. "Sure," she said softly. "We'll figure it out." The rest of breakfast continued in near silence. She cleared the dishes while Marcus dashed out the door for work. As she washed the plates, she felt a dull ache in her chest. The trip had been her way of trying to rekindle something. Anything. Instead, she was faced with the same emotional distance. Still, she refused to let gloom rule the day. After all, Zuri and Eli were looking forward to the weekend, and even if Marcus bailed, she intended to make it memorable. She mentally drafted a list of things to pack: sleds, thermoses for hot chocolate, board games for evening fun. Yet, a deeper foreboding gnawed at her. A snowstorm of silence had settled over her marriage, and it showed no sign of melting anytime soon. She just hoped that if she kept her own warmth alive, Marcus might someday thaw. But for now, the best she could do was focus on giving her children a loving, joyful experience, even if she had to navigate the frosty tension at home. Thursday arrived, and Marcus remained unresponsive about the weekend plans. Selina decided to press him one last time before canceling. She found him in the den, scanning through some financial reports. His dark eyebrows furrowed in concentration. "Marcus, can we please talk about the cabin?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. "If you have meetings on Friday, What about driving up Saturday morning? The kids are so excited. He didn't even look up. I already told you I have a full schedule. I won't be going. All right, Selina said quietly. So you're fine with me taking them alone? He finally met her gaze, and his eyes were cold. You do whatever you want. Just don't waste my money doing it. The remark stung like ice to her face. Waste? She repeated, voice quivering. They're your children too, Marcus. And I wasn't aware we were on such a strict budget. She tried to recall any instance of him telling her they had financial problems. As far as she knew, he was doing well at his firm, and their bills were up to date. He shrugged. Budgets can tighten at any time. Selina decided not to argue. She was exhausted by the perpetual cold shoulder. She mustered a thin smile, turned on her heel, and left. There was nothing to be gained from forcing him to go. Still, her heart ached. Before leaving for the cabin the next day, she made sure everything in the house was in order. She double-checked the pantry, made sure the mortgage payment was set, and tidied up the living areas. Marcus barely acknowledged her or the kids as she loaded up the car. As she drove north toward Pinewood Cabin with Zuri and Eli in the back seat, she glanced in the rearview mirror at their excited faces. She resolved that this trip would be about them, and maybe about herself, too. She needed to clear her head, away from Marcus's growing hostility. Yet in the recesses of her mind, she felt that something bigger was brewing. A shift. A break. She just didn't know how or when it would strike. The cabin getaway was peaceful on the surface. Zuri and Eli giggled as they built a miniature igloo outside the rustic log cabin. Selina kept watch from the porch, wrapped in a thick woolen blanket. The smell of pine forest was crisp in the air, and the distant sparkle of the frozen lake shimmered under the midday sun. But Selina's thoughts were miles away, lingering on the tension at home. She had loved Marcus since the day she met him at a mutual friend's gathering. He had been so attentive then. It baffled her how the love of her life had turned into a distant stranger in just a few short years. That night, after the kids were asleep, she found herself staring into the fireplace, the flames dancing as if mocking her swirling emotions. She felt a surge of loneliness so profound that tears fell unbidden. She had held in her heartache for too long, and here, in the stillness of the snowy wilderness, it came crashing over her like a tidal wave. She pressed her forehead to her knees, letting her tears fall. "Why is this happening?" she whispered to herself. "What changed? Is it me? Is it him?" She wiped her eyes, ashamed to be breaking down even when her children were just one room away. Yet she couldn't stop. She simply needed this release. The cabin's rustic walls bore silent witness to her pain. She thought about calling Marcus, but she knew his reaction would likely be indifferent. For the remainder of that night, she found it impossible to sleep. She scribbled in an old journal, writing down the memories of how they used to be, the things they had promised each other. By morning, she'd let out the bulk of her tears. A fragile resolve formed inside her. If Marcus wouldn't soften, she would have to find her own way. She didn't know what that meant yet, but she recognized that her life couldn't continue in the same pattern of quiet neglect. For her sake, and for the sake of Zuri and Eli, something needed to shift. And as the sun rose over the pine trees, bathing the cabin's interior in gentle light, Selina felt an inkling of hope that perhaps she had the strength to handle whatever might come next. Selina returned home from the cabin late Sunday evening. She found Marcus in the living room, flicking through TV channels with a glass of whiskey in hand. Zuri and Eli, still buzzing from their weekend adventures, dashed off to their rooms to unpack. Selina approached him cautiously. "We're back," she said. He barely acknowledged her, responding with a grunt. She sighed, put down her purse, and headed to the kitchen to start dinner for herself. The kids had already eaten on the road. When she opened the fridge, she noticed the groceries she had restocked before leaving were nearly untouched. As she rummaged for ingredients, she realized she needed to buy fresh vegetables for the week. Reaching for her phone, she opened the grocery delivery app and attempted to check out. An error popped up. "Your card has been declined." She frowned, thinking perhaps it was just a glitch. She tried another purchase from a different store. Same message. Declined. Her heart fluttered with a sudden wave of anxiety. She grabbed her credit card from her wallet, walked over to Marcus, and held it out. "Why is my card declined?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Marcus took another sip of his drink, not looking at her. "I canceled it," he said flatly. Her eyes widened. "You canceled my credit card?" She felt her pulse quicken. He shrugged. "I did what I had to do. Our finances need to be consolidated. Didn't think it'd be a big deal. You can use the joint checking if you need anything." Her mind raced with confusion and alarm. In all their years together, he had never restricted her financial access. This felt like a sudden power move. "Marcus, if there's a problem, we can talk about it. I just need to understand why." He set his whiskey glass down on the table with a sharp clink. "We're not talking about it right now. I told you, I'm consolidating. Besides, you like to spend money on unnecessary stuff. Might as well rein that in." Shock and betrayal rooted Selena to the spot. Yes, she'd used the card for normal household expenses, maybe the occasional shopping trip for new clothes for the kids, but never anything extravagant. She stared at him, unable to formulate a response beyond her rising anger. He smirked and turned back to the television. "What? Speechless? Good. Maybe now you'll think twice before you go off on a whim again." He grabbed the remote, turned the volume up, and ended the conversation. Selena clutched the canceled card, her stomach in knots. This was more than just a financial decision. This was a deliberate act of control. And in that moment, an even stronger resolve crystallized in her mind. She needed to find her own way, free from relying on Marcus's good graces. In the days that followed, Selena kept her composure. She refused to let Marcus see how deeply his move had wounded her. Instead of confronting him in loud arguments, she chose a dignified silence. She became more self-reliant, using what little was in her personal savings to cover immediate needs like groceries and winter clothing for Zuri and Eli. At breakfast, when Marcus asked, "Why didn't you pick up my dry cleaning?" she simply replied, "I had other errands," without mentioning that her card no longer worked and that she didn't want to dip into the joint checking for his personal suits. He scowled, but her calm demeanor seemed to disarm him. The children noticed something was off. Zuri asked, "Mommy, did you do something bad?" "Daddy's acting weird." Selena hushed her gently, assuring her it was just grown-up stuff and that everything would be fine. Meanwhile, every time Marcus left for work, Selena's mind churned with the question, what next? She knew that continuing to live under his financial thumb was no longer tenable. She had a college degree in marketing. She wasn't helpless. She just hadn't pursued a career in years because she focused on family. Though she yearned to regain independence, she also didn't want to start a war within her own household. So she carried on, quietly, a silent storm growing inside her chest. She busied herself with daily tasks, helping the kids with homework, driving them to extracurriculars, managing the home's upkeep. But every time she saw Marcus, that canceled credit card weighed heavily on her mind. It symbolized his lack of faith, his dismissiveness, his need to control. She wondered if he expected her to eventually crawl back to him, pleading for money, validating his superiority. If so, he was in for a surprise. During those days of dignified silence, Selena felt her inner strength building. She spent time brainstorming her next move, carefully plotting a path that would ensure she wasn't caught in a vulnerable position again. And with each passing day, Marcus's hold on her began to loosen, at least in her heart and mind, long before he would realize the drastic change that was about to unfold. Amid the chaos and emotional turbulence, Selena discovered an old notebook from her university days. It contained sketches, marketing ideas, and business concepts that she had once dreamed of pursuing. She flipped through the pages and smiled wistfully at the scrawled notes on holistic wellness, mental health, and lifestyle branding. In a moment of epiphany, she realized this was what she had always been passionate about. She had a natural inclination for anything related to emotional well-being, physical health, and mindful living. Despite burying her aspirations during her marriage, the seed was still there, waiting to be nurtured. That evening, after putting Zuri and Eli to bed, Selena decided to start small. She opened her laptop and researched wellness influencers, digital marketing strategies, and e-commerce platforms. A spark ignited inside her. She saw a growing audience of people, especially busy mothers, who desperately sought emotional and physical wellness tips. An idea formed, Essentia, a brand dedicated to holistic well-being, from stress reduction techniques to simple exercise routines that fit into a busy family schedule. Though initially a mere concept, Selena sensed it had the potential to become something bigger. She took the first step by writing a mission statement for Essentia in her notebook. Essentia, empowering individuals to find balance, peace, and vitality through holistic wellness. Dedicated to supporting those who juggle countless responsibilities yet yearn for a healthier mind and body. It was just one paragraph, but it felt monumental. She made a list of potential blog topics: quick and healthy family dinners, meditation for busy moms, budget-friendly self-care, rekindling intimacy in marriage. The last topic made her pause. She felt a pang of sadness, but also determination. By the time she shut off her laptop, it was well after midnight. Her eyes were heavy, but her mind buzzed with excitement. A new door had cracked open. She didn't know exactly how she would fund Essentia yet, but the seed of change had been planted. She cradled the idea in her heart, vowing to nurture it until it blossomed. It was more than just a business idea. It was a reclaiming of self. And if Marcus thought he had her cornered with a canceled credit card, he was sorely mistaken. The following week, Selena started building Essentia in every free moment she could find, early mornings before the kids woke up, late nights after they went to sleep. She purchased a simple domain name using what remained of her personal savings and created social media accounts under the brand name. She decided to keep her identity hidden for the time being, opting for a pseudonym as the brand's face. For content creation, she took advantage of her natural flair for visuals. She filmed short videos on her phone featuring easy stretching routines and mindfulness tips, but never showed her full face, only glimpses of her doing yoga poses or preparing nutritious meals. She designed quick graphics on a free design platform, using soft, calming colors and a minimalist aesthetic. Each post ended with the tagline, "Because your well-being is essential, Essentia." While Marcus was oblivious, locked in his own world of finance and business deals, Selena quietly amassed a small following. A few likes and shares turned into a handful of loyal subscribers. Encouraged, she kept posting consistently, sharing brief stories about overcoming stress, balancing family obligations, and finding pockets of joy even in tough times. One late night, as she tinkered with the website design, she felt her phone buzz. It was a direct message from a woman named Grace, who wrote, "I love your page. Your tips have helped me reduce anxiety. Please continue sharing." Selena's heart soared reading the message. She realized she was making a tangible difference, no matter how small. She hid her efforts from Marcus, who seemed increasingly aloof. She stored her notes, filming equipment, and brand strategy materials in a locked drawer in her home office, a space Marcus never bothered to enter. She turned off notifications whenever he was near to avoid drawing any suspicion. During a rare family dinner, Marcus asked blandly, "So, what do you do with your day now that the kids are in school and you're not swiping the credit card?" Selena gave a serene smile. "Just keeping busy," she replied, ignoring his barb. He smirked, assuming his words had scored a point. Little did he know, Selena was building something far more valuable than any credit card could offer. Her independence and a brand that would soon outshine anything he ever thought possible. Selena poured her creativity into Essentia's branding. Having studied marketing in college, she knew the value of a cohesive and captivating brand identity. She spent hours selecting the perfect fonts, elegant script for the logo, and a clean sans serif for body text. She incorporated soothing imagery of nature, abstract silhouettes of people meditating, and gentle pastel color palettes that suggested calm and balance. She also understood the importance of telling a story. Each blog post, each short video, began with a relatable anecdote about feeling overwhelmed by life's responsibilities. She never mentioned her own marriage troubles directly, but she alluded to the emotional challenges many women face in relationships and parenting. One evening, while finalizing Essentia's tagline, she considered how to position her content in a way that stood out. She found an old marketing note she had jotted down in college: "Highlight transformation, not just information." Inspired, she began incorporating transformative stories. mini case studies of followers who had tried her simple wellness steps and reported feeling more energized or less stressed. She also scouted potential collaborations with micro-influencers in the wellness space. Reaching out anonymously, she proposed guest posts and co-hosted live sessions. A small handful responded positively. With every new collaboration, Essencha's following inched forward. Meanwhile, Marcus remained in his own bubble. He rarely inquired about Selina's activities, content in his assumption that her financial resources were curtailed. If he knew she was launching a brand, he likely would have dismissed it as a hobby. But Selina's mind was ablaze with possibilities. The more she worked on Essencha, the more she realized that this wasn't just a side hustle, it was her lifeline to self-determination. Late that night, she made a simple vow to herself: I will not let fear hold me back. Essencha will grow, and so will I. As Essencha's online presence began to stabilize, Selina reached out to an old childhood friend, Jordan Whitaker. They had grown up in the same neighborhood, racing bikes down the street and sharing secrets at slumber parties. Eventually, they lost touch when Jordan's family moved away, but they reconnected through social media years later. Jordan was now an entrepreneur and small-scale angel investor who had a keen interest in supporting women-led startups. They arranged a discreet video call one afternoon while Marcus was at work and the kids were at school. Selina explained her vision for Essencha, how she planned to expand from social media content into digital courses and a curated product line of supplements and stress relief kits. Jordan was intrigued. I believe in you, Selina, Jordan said with a warm smile. I remember how passionate you were about wellness even back then. Your idea is timely, and you've already built a decent following. I'd be open to investing in the brand. Selina's heart pounded. She never imagined Jordan would come forward with an investment so soon. That's incredible, she managed. I don't have a formal business plan yet. I'm still fleshing out the details. Don't worry about that too much, Jordan replied. I'll help you with a more structured pitch. But I'd like a small equity stake if I'm investing. And eventually, we should talk about scaling properly. Maybe influencer partnerships, brand ambassadors, even corporate workshops. Selina took a shaky breath. Yes, absolutely. That's the dream. I'm just trying to remain anonymous for now. My husband. He doesn't know about this. I need to keep it under wraps until I'm stable enough. Jordan gave her a sympathetic nod. Say no more. We'll do this on your terms. That evening, Selina could barely contain her excitement. A new horizon had opened up before her. She was no longer just building an online presence. She was on the cusp of turning Essencha into a legitimate business venture. And she had to do it all without letting Marcus catch wind, at least until the time was right. A couple of months passed, and the tension within the household didn't dissipate, but something about Selina changed. She had a secret sense of purpose that gave her an unexpected resilience. Her eyes lit up when she was alone in her office, crafting new content or brainstorming marketing plans. She started to adopt healthier habits, too, working out more regularly and practicing the very mindfulness techniques she espoused through Essencha. Zuri was the first to notice. Mom, she said one afternoon, twisting a curl around her finger, you seem happier. Are you doing something new? Selina smiled, touched by her daughter's observation. I'm working on a new project, she answered mysteriously. Nothing to share yet, but I promise you'll be proud of me when the time comes. Eli also sensed the shift. Hey Mom, he ventured one day after soccer practice. Dad's been acting weird, but you seem okay. Is everything all right? Selina gave him a reassuring nod. Everything is fine. Sometimes adults go through things. But don't worry, I'm here for you and Zuri. Behind that reassuring smile, Selina felt a swell of gratitude that her children were perceptive enough to pick up on her newfound determination. She knew that no matter what happened between her and Marcus, she had to remain a pillar of strength for them. Marcus, however, was oblivious. He hardly engaged with the family anymore. Selina sometimes wondered if he was having an affair or if his job was so stressful that he simply shut down. But at this point, her own path forward felt more important than unraveling his secrets. She was done tiptoeing around his mood swings. Every night, after tucking the kids into bed, She logged onto her Essentia dashboard to find a growing stream of comments, messages, and small orders for her branded stress relief packs, tea blends, scented candles, and mini gratitude journals. She shipped them out quietly, driving to a nearby postal center during the day. Zuri and Eli noticed the subtle joy in their mother's eyes. And Selena herself felt like each day brought her closer to a future where she wouldn't need to rely on Marcus's finances or emotional approval. By early spring, Essentia was no longer just a small endeavor. The consistent posting, collaborations with micro-influencers, and Jordan's strategic advice had led to a steady increase in revenue. Selena established a small LLC and opened a business bank account in Essentia's name. She felt a surge of pride transferring her profits there, money she had earned through her own grit and creativity. The wins were silent because she still hadn't divulged her secret to Marcus. Why would she? His pattern of condescension and belittling her every interest had shown her he wouldn't offer support. She recalled the humiliation of her canceled credit card, the times he'd sneered at her for not contributing financially. Now, her brand was quietly paying for more and more of their household needs. She even began slipping in her own money to cover groceries, kids' clothes, and small luxuries, keeping a meticulous record of each expense. When Marcus mentioned the rise in household spending, she pretended ignorance. Meanwhile, she secretly took care of bills, ensuring the kids wanted for nothing. She even started putting extra funds aside for a rainy day. Yet, the biggest triumph was intangible. Selena had started to believe in herself again. The turning point came one afternoon when a popular online wellness magazine reached out for an interview with Essentia's founder. Selena politely declined to appear on camera or disclose her real identity, insisting on written answers only. But even so, the feature brought thousands of new visitors to her site in a single day, boosting her daily sales exponentially. In the living room that evening, Marcus browsed the TV channels with a bored expression. Selena sat across from him, her laptop open on her knees. Every few minutes, a new order notification pinged. She felt an illicit thrill, glancing up to make sure Marcus hadn't noticed. He was too absorbed in stock market news to care. In her silent realm of achievement, she felt unstoppable. Each new sale whispered to her, "He tried to chain you financially, but look at you now." Marcus, despite his aloofness, eventually noticed something amiss. While he'd expected Selena to beg for money or approach him to uncancel her credit card, she never did. The household ran smoothly, the children had everything they needed, and Selena herself seemed unusually self-assured. He began to question what she was up to. One evening, he casually asked, "How are you managing expenses these days?" as he flipped through a magazine in the den. Selena, who was tidying up, shrugged. "I have a little savings, remember? And I'm using the joint account for household stuff when needed." He arched an eyebrow. "Funny how you haven't complained about being strapped for cash." She gave him a sweet smile, the kind that projected confidence. "I'm fine, Marcus." And that was all she said. In the days that followed, he started paying closer attention, peeking at receipts left on the kitchen counter, scrutinizing the grocery list. He even went so far as to check the usage of the joint account. Yet, he didn't find anything alarming. Selena only withdrew modest sums for routine expenses. Still, a niggling suspicion took root in his mind. Meanwhile, he couldn't ignore the void in their interactions. The more distant she seemed, the more unsettled he became, although he'd never show it openly. He was used to being the power figure in the marriage, the provider, the decision-maker. Now, he couldn't quite put his finger on what had shifted, but it felt like the balance of power was quietly slipping away from him. One night, he cornered Selena in the kitchen. "Are you hiding something from me?" he asked, trying to sound casual but failing to mask his unease. She calmly put away a plate in the cabinet. "No, Marcus. If I am, you'll find out eventually, right?" Her tone was light, almost teasing. His eyes narrowed. "Don't be coy." She shrugged and walked away, leaving him to stew in his own doubts. As he stood there, a realization struck him. This was not the same demure wife he used to control with a simple scowl or cutting remark. Something about Selena had changed, and he couldn't figure out how or why. It bothered him more than he cared to admit. Then it happened. Essentia went viral. Selena had spent weeks perfecting a short wellness reel, titled Morning Mindset Reset. It showcased a simple 5-minute routine of deep breathing, gentle stretches, and positive affirmations, something any busy parent could squeeze into a hectic schedule. Jordan, with her connections, helped push the reel through various social media channels. Then, an A-list celebrity mom shared it on her own profile, praising its practicality. The reel amassed millions of views in mere days, catapulting Essentia into the spotlight. Selena watched in real time as her follower count skyrocketed and her sales soared. She was both exhilarated and terrified. She knew that maintaining her anonymity under such intense interest would be challenging. But Jordan reassured her that they could manage the brand identity carefully, just letting people assume Selena was a reserved founder who preferred privacy. In the wake of her reel's viral success, major wellness and lifestyle brands started contacting Essentia for potential collaborations. Selena felt like she was in a dream, responding to emails with hush-hush excitement, scheduling meetings under her pseudonym, and navigating the wave of sudden fame with Jordan's guidance. Meanwhile, in the Grant household, Marcus remained clueless about the identity of this brand that everyone was raving about. On more than one occasion, he saw headlines about Essentia pop up on his newsfeed. Essentia, the fast-rising holistic wellness brand. He barely gave it a second glance. Selena smothered a laugh whenever she caught him reading about her own company without the faintest idea it was hers. Each evening, she tracked her skyrocketing analytics, heart-pounding with joy. She was living a double life, tired homemaker by day, viral entrepreneur by night, and she had never felt more alive. A month later, Selena received an intriguing email. Elevate Corp, a well-known corporate wellness firm, wanted to discuss a partnership. The email read, Essentia's recent success aligns perfectly with our mission to integrate holistic well-being into the corporate environment. We would like to explore a potential collaboration or brand acquisition. Are you open to a meeting? Selena's hands trembled as she read those words. Elevate Corp was big, a multi-million-dollar powerhouse. A collaboration with them could catapult Essentia to new heights. Excited, she called Jordan and asked for advice. Take the meeting, Jordan encouraged. Even if you don't finalize anything, it's a huge opportunity to network and see what kind of valuation they place on Essentia. They set up a virtual meeting, with Jordan acting as Selena's liaison. Selena kept her camera off and introduced herself as S. Hayes, the founder. The representatives from Elevate Corp expressed admiration for Essentia's rapid growth and brand identity. Their lead negotiator even mentioned that some employees at their firm used Essentia's videos as part of their morning routine. Selena answered their questions calmly, projecting confidence despite her racing pulse. She explained Essentia's philosophy and teased upcoming expansions, more digital courses, a potential app, and curated wellness products. The Elevate Corp team was intrigued. We'd love to discuss a potential investment or even a buyout, one of the executives said toward the end of the call. If you're open to hearing our terms, we can prepare a formal proposal. Selena glanced at Jordan, who gave a supportive thumbs up. Yes, Selena replied. We'd be happy to evaluate any proposal you put forward. After the meeting, she logged off, heart fluttering. This was bigger than she ever imagined when she'd first scribbled Essentia in her old notebook. If this deal went through, she'd have the financial stability to secure her children's future and truly break free from Marcus's grip, should it come to that. 2 weeks later, Selena received a message from Jordan that made her heart nearly stop. Marcus's firm is one of the bidders. As it turned out, Elevate Corp was not only looking to collaborate with Essentia, but also with other corporate finance teams for a massive round of funding. Marcus's firm, Grant & Associates, had apparently submitted a pitch to handle the financial structuring of the deal. Of course, Marcus had no idea that the S. Hayes at the helm of Essentia was actually his wife, Selena Hayes Grant. Selena's emotions churned with both dread and a strange thrill. The man who had canceled her credit card, who belittled her ambitions, was now competing to provide funding services for the brand she had built in secret. The universe could hardly have orchestrated a more poetic turn of events. Jordan proposed a strategy. Keep Selena's real identity hidden until the official board meeting. Then, at the right time, Selena would reveal herself as Essentia's CEO. The dramatic twist might even work in their favor. Selena hesitated for a moment, concerned about the personal fallout. But eventually, she agreed. Marcus had put her through enough humiliation. If he was to discover the truth, it might as well be on her terms. In the days leading up to the big board meeting with Elevate Corp, Selena felt like she was walking on a knife's edge, balancing secrecy and anticipation. She couldn't wait to see the look on Marcus's face when he realized that the brand his firm was wooing was actually owned by the wife he had so easily dismissed. Marcus was in his office when he saw the email subject line flash on his screen, Essentia Board Meeting Agenda and Attendee List. Intrigued, he opened it. His firm had been working tirelessly on a pitch for Essentia, a rising star in the wellness industry. He personally had been only vaguely aware of the brand, but recognized that it was a hot prospect. He scrolled down the email, skimming the attached agenda. His eyes landed on a line that froze him in place. Essentia CEO, S. Hayes, Selena Hayes Grant. Marcus blinked. Selena Hayes Grant? Was this a coincidence, or was it his Selena? He read it again. The text was unambiguous. Essentia's founder and CEO was Selena Hayes Grant, the woman to whom he had been married for over a decade. He felt his heart rate spike, confusion and disbelief flooding his mind. Could Selena have built an entire brand without him knowing? He scrambled through the documents, searching for a mistake, a different contact. But there it was, plain as day. Selena was scheduled to attend the same board meeting where Grant and Associates would pitch their financial package to Essentia and Elevate Corp. She wasn't listed as a minor partner or consultant. She was the CEO. Everything he'd read about Essentia in the news, the viral videos, the skyrocketing sales, the major corporate interest, had been his wife's doing. He stared at his phone, half tempted to call Selena that very minute. But he felt paralyzed by the shock. Memories rushed back, her quiet defiance, her refusal to plead for money, the abrupt cancellation of her credit card. Had he miscalculated everything? A swirl of emotions, anger, confusion, a perverse sense of admiration, churned in his gut. He fumbled for his phone but hesitated. What would he even say? With trembling hands, he clicked on the meeting link. The event was scheduled for the end of the week. He had 4 days to process the reality that the woman he'd marginalized and dismissed was now the key to landing one of the biggest deals of his career. On the morning of the board meeting, Marcus's nerves were on edge. Grant and Associates had pulled out all the stops to impress Essentia and Elevate Corp. The conference room was elegantly set up, complete with slides, charts, and a meticulously crafted financial proposal. Marcus wore his best suit and tie, trying to hide the turmoil inside. Selena arrived with Jordan by her side, exuding an aura of calm confidence. Her outfit was sleek and professional, but her presence was even more commanding. The moment Marcus saw her enter, his throat went dry. She acknowledged him with a polite nod, as though he were just another executive in the room. She took a seat at the head of the table, an Elevate Corp representative on her left, Jordan on her right. A hush fell over the room as the meeting began. The Elevate Corp rep opened with a statement about synergy and corporate wellness. Then came time for Grant and Associates to present their pitch. One of Marcus's junior partners started speaking, while slides about potential financial structures flickered on the screen. Marcus forced himself to maintain composure, but he could feel Selena's gaze on him. He finally mustered the courage to look at her. Their eyes locked for the briefest moment, and he saw a spark in her eyes, a mixture of triumph, hurt, and unyielding strength. When it was time for questions, Selena leaned forward. "Your proposal is interesting," she said, scanning the documents in front of her. "But I'm curious about the timeline. How quickly can we see a return on investment without compromising our brand integrity?" Marcus cleared his throat. "We've structured the timeline conservatively, yet with room for faster returns if the market continues to favor Essentia's growth." Selena nodded. "I see. And how does Grant and Associates plan to incorporate the holistic ethos of Essentia into the financial architecture, especially given the psychological impact on employees and partners?" It was a shrewd question, one that blended marketing savvy, emotional intelligence, and business acumen. Marcus tried to respond articulately, but he was still reeling from the fact that the woman grilling him was his own wife, someone he'd underestimated for far too long. Selena listened intently, making notes, her face revealing nothing. The tension in the room was palpable, though only a few people were aware of the personal undercurrents. At the end of the presentation, Elevate Corp thanked Grant and Associates for their time. The meeting adjourned with promises of a follow-up discussion. Marcus stood by the doorway, unsure if he should approach Selina. Finally, he summoned the nerve. "Selina," he began in a low voice. Can we talk?" She regarded him coolly. "I have another meeting. Perhaps another time." He bristled at her dismissal but bit his tongue. Never in a million years had he imagined a scenario where he would be begging her for a moment of attention. The follow-up meeting took place a few days later, and this time it was a smaller group, just Selina, Marcus, Jordan, and one senior rep from Elevate Corp. They convened in a high-end conference room that overlooked the city skyline. The stakes were high. They were finalizing terms. Marcus began the meeting by outlining the final adjustments to the proposal. His voice wavered slightly as he tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy. He concluded by saying, "We believe this structure will best serve Essentia's expansion goals and Elevate Corp's strategic positioning." Selina paused, exchanging a glance with Jordan. Then she set her pen down. "Everything looks appropriate from a corporate standpoint," she said evenly. "But I have personal reservations." Marcus swallowed. "Personal? Would you care to elaborate?" Selina leveled him with a calm gaze. "Sure. I'm cautious about who I partner with. Trust is paramount. Not just in finances, but in values and mutual respect." She let the words hang in the air, watching as Marcus's jaw tightened. Elevate Corp's rep cleared his throat, sensing tension but not fully grasping its origin. Jordan simply observed, wearing a knowing smile. Selina continued, her voice unwavering. "You blocked my credit card, Marcus. Grant and Associates effectively cut off my access to finances during a difficult period, and I learned to stand on my own." She shifted her attention to the Elevate Corp rep. "Now I'm in the position of deciding whether to allow Grant and Associates to handle my brand's finances." Marcus's face flushed. He wanted to sink into the floor, but he managed to speak. "Selina, that was a misunderstanding. It was never meant." She interrupted softly, yet firmly. "It was exactly what it appeared to be, an attempt at control. Ironically, it became my motivator." Silence filled the room, heavy with the weight of the personal revelation. Marcus looked down at his polished shoes, wishing he could roll back time. Selina's voice took on a quiet steeliness. "So you see, Mr. Grant, I have to weigh whether partnering with you aligns with the values of empowerment Essentia stands for. You blocked me. Now I sign your paycheck, if I choose to." A hush followed. Marcus felt the eyes of the Elevate Corp rep darting between him and Selina. He stammered, Grant and Associates would be honored to handle Essentia's financial expansion. We deeply respect your work, your brand, and you." Selina exchanged a glance with Jordan. "At length," she nodded. "We'll consider your proposal. But trust is not something you can simply regain with an apology. It'll be built over time, with actions." With that, the meeting adjourned. Elevate Corp's rep looked both impressed and unnerved by the undercurrent he'd just witnessed. Marcus stood frozen, realizing he now had to prove himself to the woman he had so utterly underestimated, and in a very public boardroom no less. News of Essentia's potential collaboration with Elevate Corp spread like wildfire through the business world. The story took an even more sensational turn when someone leaked details about the brand's founder being married to a partner at one of the bidding firms, Marcus Grant. Speculation ran rampant online. Wife builds secret multimillion-dollar business, husband left in the dark. The tabloids feasted on the drama, painting Selina as a mysterious entrepreneur who had outsmarted her unsuspecting spouse. Memes flooded social media depicting a triumphant woman labeled Essentia CEO, stepping over a powerless figure labeled husband. Selina cringed at some of the sensational headlines, but she also recognized the marketing potential. People were flocking to Essentia's pages, eager to discover the wellness brand behind the scandal. Her follower count soared, and orders for her products multiplied. Marcus, on the other hand, found himself the subject of ridicule within his professional circle. He walked into the office one morning to find a younger associate reading a gossip column with a smirk. Another colleague tried to offer sympathetic words, but it only deepened his embarrassment. He had been so sure of his control, only to learn that his wife was a force he had severely underestimated. Selina, meanwhile, carefully navigated the influx of attention. She posted a measured statement, acknowledging the rumors without divulging personal details. Essentia remains dedicated to holistic well-being for all. Our focus is on empowering individuals to find balance, peace, and vitality. Personal matters aside, we promise to continue serving our community with integrity and innovation. The statement went viral, garnering praise for its poised response. Marcus, seeing the wave of public support for Selina, felt a churn of regret and uncertainty. He called her one evening, voice subdued. "Selina, can we please talk?" She paused, considering. "All right," she said at last. "But not over the phone. Let's meet in a neutral place. My lawyer advised me to keep things formal." Marcus's heart sank at the mention of a lawyer. He realized the situation was more serious than he'd ever imagined. The tables had turned, and now he was at Selina's mercy, both professionally and personally. They agreed to meet at a stylish cafe downtown. Selina arrived first, dressed smartly, her demeanor composed. Marcus joined her shortly after, looking noticeably anxious. The hum of espresso machines and the chatter of patrons filled the air. He opened awkwardly, I just want to say I'm sorry, Selina. For everything. I had no idea you." She cut him off gently. "Marcus, let me stop you right there. This isn't about me wanting an apology. It's about you acknowledging that your actions were deliberately harmful, canceling my card, ignoring me, belittling my efforts. And that's just the tip of the iceberg." He ran a hand through his hair. "You're right. I was arrogant. I believed my career was everything. I took you for granted. Cutting off your credit card was a low blow. I was angry about finances and took it out on you." Selina stirred her latte, eyes focused on the swirl of foam. "I appreciate the honesty now. But it's too late for our marriage, Marcus. I've already consulted a divorce attorney." His face drained of color. "Divorce? Selina, can't we try therapy or?" She shook her head. "I've tried. 4 years, I tried to salvage our connection. You made it clear you weren't interested. I can't put myself or the kids through more of this back and forth. They sense the tension, and it's not healthy." Marcus's voice cracked. "I'm willing to change. Tell me what you want me to do." She gazed at him calmly. "It's not about what I want from you anymore. It's about what I need for myself and for the kids. I'm open to co-parenting arrangements. But as for our marriage, that ship has sailed." He swallowed hard, tears glistening in his eyes. "I see." They sat in heavy silence for a moment, the cafe's lively atmosphere contrasting starkly with the gravity of their conversation. Finally, Selina stood. "If you need to discuss anything else, talk to my lawyer. And for what it's worth, I do hope you find happiness, Marcus. But I can't be the one to provide it anymore." With that, she left him at the table, surrounded by half-finished coffee cups and a world that had shifted irrevocably. In the midst of finalizing her divorce plans, Selina continued to steer Essentia's expansion. Jordan remained a steadfast ally, helping navigate the corporate negotiations. As the brand soared in popularity, Jordan grew more involved, even expressing interest in taking on a larger operational role. One afternoon, after a particularly productive meeting, Jordan accompanied Selina back to her car. As the winter wind picked up around them, Jordan hesitated before speaking. "Listen, Selina," Jordan began, cheeks flushed either from the cold or nerves. "We've been working closely for months now, and I've seen your strength, your creativity. It's inspiring." Selina blinked, not quite sure where this was going. "Thank you, Jordan. You've been incredible, too. Couldn't have done this without your support." Jordan stepped closer, voice trembling. "I don't want to overstep boundaries, especially since you're going through a divorce. But I want you to know, I've always admired you. Even as kids, I saw how caring and determined you were. Now, seeing you blossom like this has made me realize I might have feelings for you that go beyond friendship and business." Heat surged into Selina's cheeks. She certainly hadn't seen this coming. She carefully considered her words. "Jordan, that's unexpected. I'm grateful for your honesty. But I need time. My divorce, the kids, everything is still in flux." Jordan nodded, offering a warm, understanding smile. "Of course. No pressure. I just wanted to put it out there. If you ever feel ready to explore something more, I'll be here." They hugged goodbye, a soft promise lingering in the chill winter air. Selina got into her car, thoughts whirling. She felt a sense of wonder that life could still hold possibilities for new love and partnership, even after all the pain she'd endured. For now, though, her focus remained on stabilizing her life and finalizing her split from Marcus. But she couldn't deny a glimmer of hope had sparked within her heart. By spring, the divorce paperwork was in motion. Marcus had begrudgingly accepted the reality that Selina was moving forward without him. The two established a co-parenting schedule for Zuri and Eli, and while tensions remained, they managed a cordial front for the children's sake. Meanwhile, Essentia announced a major milestone: the launch of the Selina Hayes Foundation, dedicated to supporting financially abused women. Selina partnered with local nonprofits to offer workshops on financial literacy, career development, and self-empowerment. She also pledged a portion of Essentia's profits to the foundation. The day of the foundation's grand opening saw a flurry of media coverage. Selina stood on a small stage in front of a crowd of supporters, sponsors, and curious onlookers. Microphones and cameras pointed her way as she took a moment to steady her emotions. "Thank you for being here," she began. "This foundation is close to my heart because I know firsthand the damage that financial abuse can inflict, and how empowering it is to break free. We're here to give women the tools, knowledge, and support they need to create independent lives for themselves and their families." Applause rang out across the venue. Selina inhaled, emotions swelling in her chest. She recalled her own journey, the tearful nights, the cancelled card, the quiet determination that birthed Essentia. She thought of all the women who felt trapped, misunderstood, or isolated by their partner's economic control. Now, her story had come full circle, transforming pain into purpose. After the speeches and ribbon-cutting ceremony, Selina spotted Jordan in the crowd. They exchanged a warm smile. Though they hadn't advanced beyond their honest conversation, their bond felt stronger than ever. Marcus was notably absent, and Selina felt a sense of release, an affirmation that she was stepping into a new chapter of her life. That evening, Selina tucked Zuri and Eli into bed, telling them the foundation was just as much theirs as it was hers. "Because you two gave me the courage to keep going," she whispered. They fell asleep clutching her hands, secure in the love that had guided them through the storm. In the weeks following the foundation launch, Essentia secured a groundbreaking deal with Elevate Corp, solidifying its position as a leading name in corporate wellness. Selina, now free from the shackles of a disintegrated marriage, threw herself into her work with renewed passion, all while maintaining a nurturing home for her children. The media continued to buzz about her story, how an underestimated wife managed to build a thriving wellness empire in secret. Marcus, for his part, faced repercussions at Grant and Associates. Losing such a high-profile deal, one hinging on the very woman he'd once tried to financially strangle, did not sit well with the firm's upper management. Rumors circulated that he was being sidelined, or that his position was in jeopardy. One afternoon, Selina received a terse phone call from Marcus. His voice was subdued, bordering on desperate. "Selina, things at work are not going well. They're blaming me for the fiasco with Essentia. Please, can you say something to help me?" Selina closed her eyes, recalling all the times she had silently begged for his support. She exhaled. "Marcus, I'm sorry you're struggling. But my relationship with Grant and Associates is strictly professional. I can't fix personal consequences of your actions." She could practically hear his shattered pride on the other end. "I understand," he said quietly. I never meant for it to end up like this." When she hung up, Selina felt a surge of mixed emotions. Pity, sadness, but also a calm acceptance. She had risen from a place of silent suffering to a position of power, financial, emotional, and social. Meanwhile, Marcus was facing the loud crash of a crumbling career and reputation. At the end of the day, Selina took Zuri and Eli to her newly decorated office space, a bright and airy loft that served as Essentia's headquarters. A large sign hung on one wall, "You are enough." The children ran around, enthralled by the open layout and neat shelves lined with wellness products. Standing by the window, watching her children play, Selina allowed a small smile to curve her lips. She had triumphed without shouting, threatened no one, and made no public spectacle. Instead, she rose in silence, step by step, building her own empire. And in that quiet resilience, she found the power to transform her life into the one she'd always deserved. Finn. I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story.